Yesterday we wrote and graphed inequalities. Today we will start with solving inequalities. The good news is you already know how to solve equations, and we solve inequalities the exact same way with one exception. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number to both sides, you need to always flip the sign. That's the only difference. Everything else is the exact same. So today I need you to know, how do I solve one or two-step linear inequalities? And we will also graph them again to keep practicing that skill. We have x minus 7 is greater than negative 1. Now we're just going to treat this exactly like we did equations. I'm going to still draw my balancing line down the middle to keep my sides separate. What I do to one side, I must do to the other as well. I see minus 7, so I do the inverse to both sides and add 7. Negative 7 plus 7 adds to 0, so it cancels out. And I get x is greater than negative 1 plus 7, which is 6. So to graph that, I will put 6 in the middle here, and then I want to see at least two numbers surrounding this on your number line. You can keep going if you'd like as well. Okay, it's greater than, not equal to, so just greater than. I will have an open circle at 6, and greater than goes to the right because the numbers get bigger that way. If you want to put it on the actual number line, then it would look like this. Open circle on the number line, and then I usually do squiggly, so to the right, because it is greater than 6. The next one we see 6k is greater than 15. Again, we're just solving like we did before. I see multiplication, so to undo that, I will divide by 6 on both sides. This cancels out, so that I have whatever 15 divided by 6 is, and I know this kind of breaks the rules of what I've been teaching you, but we're going to go ahead and use a decimal. You can check it in your calculator. 15 divided by 6 is 2.5. Okay, so on your number line, we'll go ahead and just put we're going to use 2 and 3. So if I do 1, 2, 3, and you can keep going, then 2.5 would be halfway between those here, and it is an open circle because there's not a line underneath. And again, we have greater than, so to the right. Our last two, we have v being divided by negative 3. So to undo the division, I do the inverse and multiply by negative 3 on both sides. That cancels out the division so that I'm left with v, and here's what just happened. You multiplied by a negative, so you need to flip the sign. It was less than or equal to, so you literally flip it around. Now it's greater than or equal to negative 7 times negative 3, positive 21. On my number line, I'll put 21 in the middle. And then, let's see, that would be 22, 23, 20. You can keep labeling if you want. It's greater than or equal to, so I should have a solid circle because it does include 21, and then greater than, again, to the right. One more. Negative 3 is being multiplied by p. So to undo it, I will divide by negative 3 on both sides. And oh my goodness, look what happened again. Because you divided by a negative, you need to flip the sign. This cancels out. P is not greater than, flip the sign, less than, negative 6. On my number line, I will label negative 6 in the middle. And I'm skipping some numbers here. So this would be negative 5, which is why I have negative 4. I'm just kind of cramped. It was like cramped over here, so I'm spreading it out. Negative 6, negative 7, negative 8 here. So I've just skipped a line. It's still each worth 1. P is less than negative 6. I should have an open circle, and it's less than, so it goes to the left, getting smaller. Now we have some two-step inequalities. Just a reminder, you solve it the exact same way you did before. So add or subtract first, and then multiply or divide. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you need to flip the sign. Let's draw a balancing line. I see 6 out in front. It's positive. That is addition, so we will subtract 6, which will cancel that out. Now I have negative y is greater than, still greater than, you subtracted 6, you did not multiply or divide, 8. There is a 1 in front of this. So let's divide now by negative 1. That cancels out. Because you divided by a negative, you need to flip the sign so that you get y is less than negative 8. Just for good measure, let's go ahead and graph it. You have negative 8, the next number would be negative 7, and then it gets smaller this way. Less than would be an open circle, and it's less than, so to the left. Second one, draw my balancing line, and we'll go ahead and undo the addition or subtraction. Minus 1, minus 1. My new equation is now 3/5 k. Wow, okay. There we go. Is less than or equal to 12, because that's 13 minus 1. Wow. Okay, if you wanted to go ahead and now multiply by the reciprocal, so if you multiply by the flip, 5/3 on both sides, then you can do this in one step. So you have my blessing to do that. You would just need to put it over 1 and then multiply straight across. I know for a lot of us, what I just did makes no sense. So I'm going to do it a different way. But if you want to multiply by the reciprocal, you can. I'm going to do it in 2 parts. So I'm going to undo this division first by multiplying by 5. Sorry, my fault. Let's multiply by 5 on both sides to get rid of the division. That way now I have 3k is less than or equal to 60. And then undo the division by, undo the multiplication by dividing. So that you get k is less than or equal to 20. Graph it just for good measure. A lot of these questions I will ask you to graph, so it's just good to practice that. 20 goes in the middle. It is less than or equal to, so it can be equal to 20, so I want a solid circle, and less than. Last one. Draw your balancing line and undo the addition by subtracting. Negative f over 4 is less than negative 53 down 11 more, so negative 64. Okay, I understand that you have a negative number right now, you do not flip the sign. You only flip the sign if you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number. That hasn't happened. Not yet, at least. Okay, let's undo this dividing by 4. We're going to undo it by multiplying by 4 on both sides so that these cancel out. And now I have negative f is less than, hold on, negative 256. Again, you still have not multiplied or divided by a negative, so I have not flipped the sign. But I'm about to because there's a negative 1 here. So when I divide by negative 1 to both sides, now I'm dividing by a negative and I need to flip the sign. So f is greater than positive 256. That's my answer. Let's go ahead and graph it. Here's my number line, 256 in the middle, then 257 and 255. It's not equal to, so an open circle, and greater than goes to the right.